Can it be July 1st yet? I guess it must be because America's 250th birthday is just a couple of days away. I'm really looking forward to that. It is hot and sunny outside. Didn't get as hot as they predicted, though. Never did hit 97, 98 or anything like that. More like 93, 94. Still sweltering, though, although apparently the Mountaineer card will go off as planned. First Wednesday program of the season, and it's a good one. I like it. Some pretty good competition. A great grass race to kick things off at 2 turns. Starter optional, I think. A little bit later on, Mountaineers' signature event, the race that Mountaineers become pretty well known for, the 440, and there's a good rematch there between a horse named Where's Vince and the always quick cash customers. So you might want to stick around for that. And then also one of those weird races based on the Equibase ratings. And I'll have some opinions about that system a little bit later on. Welcome in. You guys know who I am. I am Mark Patterson. And you are in my dungeon, a place in which we will share our deepest, darkest, handicapping thoughts and secrets. At least that's the general idea. And also some good fellowship. You know what I was thinking right before the camera came up? I should steal Big Lou's slogan. Big Lou, he's on meds too. Mark Patterson, he's a degenerate too. Maybe that's why you guys can relate to me. I don't know, because I'm a player, man. I am a player, and I think we've got a lot of shared experiences to boot. I had a productive day. What did you guys do? I fought through the heat and did my due diligence. I weed sprayed my entire driveway, and it's a long one too. It's long and it's steep, but I had to do it with this crappy stuff that I bought at the Dollar General store. I'm not sure it kills anything, but it's so hot and so sunny. And I think that gives whatever weed killer you use kind of a boost, correct? And then I went and cleaned my wife's car, which is a holy mess. She's just brutal on a vehicle. So I'm proud of myself because I vacuumed it out and I wiped the dashboard down with some leather protectant and stuff like that, and then took it down and washed it and put a quick spray coat of ceramic sealer on it. So really proud of myself for the day that I had. Glad you could get with me. And if you're in town, if you're in the house here, then at least please hit the subscribe button and hit the like button because it helps me. I used to scoff when I watched my regular podcasts. I watched Jason Whitlock. I watched my girl Megyn Kelly. I watched Bill O'Reilly, who I trust to tell me what's happening in the world. And when they cajoled me to subscribe, I'm thinking, why bother? You're making plenty of money. And I never did it. I never have subscribed to one single YouTube production. But if you guys would subscribe, it would help me out a lot. And thank you very much. We'll get to the comments here in a minute. Better wipe these glasses off. And there was Matt Harmon says, let's go, Mark. Yeah, let's go. Let's get down to business. First race, 1 mile on the turf. This is the starter race I was talking about, starter optional claimer. These have either run for 8,000 or less in the last couple of years, or they're running for the 12.5 tag. And this is a good field. Not a bad field at all. Got a couple of comebackers, which make it kind of a tough race to really get a solid opinion on. Batuta de Oro is off the bench. And this is a good grass horse that more than fits here with the potential to outclass the competition. But Batuta de Oro, and we'll single out some of his starts and mention what he's capable of if he shows up to fire here off the bench in a minute. But for now, I'm a little put off by the trainer's record with horses that are off 6 months or more. And generally those records are compiled on dirt. And it's a different psychology when it comes to comebackers on turf, especially at Mountaineer, where turf is seasonal and opportunities can be limited and the weatherman can spoil a good turf year for a good turf horse. But I still do not dig it. Now, Juan Vasquez, has won some races this year with horses off like 2.5, 3 months and stuff like that. This deal, though, last August was the last time Batuta de Oro strutted forth under silks. So this is a longer time frame, and he is 0 for 13 with horses away this long. Another key comebacker in this race is Mr. Harry. Mr. Harry from the 2 Post here. Mr. Harry's been away since August. Mr. Harry should find himself alone on top here, I would say. And Mr. Harry's a good grass horse. When he flipped over to turf, it was a revelation. You see these kind come along every several years, horses that just never got out of their own way on dirt, but were born to run on the grass. Not like Mr. Harry's any great earth-shattering talent on turf, but look at the difference between his dirt wares and what he can do on the grass. He won his first 2 turf races, one of them at 5/8, another one at 7.5 furlongs there, and was straight non-claimers on turf until they dropped him in for a tag last time out, which was last August, and he just romped on that field when afforded control of the pace. Well, I think control of the pace is in the offing for him here again for Mr. Harry. The issue is Mr. Harry hasn't run since August, and his conditioner, Burton Sip, did win 2 races last year, but one of them was with Mr. Harry at 30 cents on the dollar on a class drop. I'm not sure I'd ever take 30 cents on the dollar on a Burton Sip trained horse. I've known Burton a long time, a long, long time. We always get along pretty well. Burton's not exactly a fan of the racing office. And of course, I ran Mountaineers Racing Office for the longest time, man. You guys know all the stories about Burton Sip, right? I don't have to get down and dirty here on the air, too. I wonder, though, I'm sure you guys have heard of some of his adventures, Mr. Burton Sip. But when you work in the racing office and you're in some kind of authority, he can drive you a little batty. He must have asked me to go to lunch 100 times and offered to write me a condition book on a napkin. And every horseman thinks he could write a better book than the racing secretary or the assistant. Believe me, they think that a trainer's license is a master's degree in horse racing. The average horseman, or at least a lot of thoroughbred trainers, think they could do a better TV show, better television analysis than the guy that's doing it, write a better condition book than the racing secretary, do a better job than the state vet, and manage the whole joint better than the general manager, because again, they think that a trainer's license is a master's degree in horse racing. Anyways, Mr. Harry last year, they tuned him up on dirt. They know he can't stand up on dirt. Burton Sip knows this, so he must have felt like Mr. Harry would need a race last year to trot him out on dirt at 5/8 last May when he'd been off since October. Now this season, he's taken a more optimistic bent, as evidently he thinks Mr. Harry's ready to roll. And at a full mile, a full big boy mile, no less, out of this barn, though, with a horse that's been away this long, I don't know if I want to go there. He is a little bit interesting, though, given the lack of speed in this race and total control of the pace. And I always kind of like this horse's grass wares. You can see where when he was second on grass last July, Tarhi, the horse that beat him, I think came back to win an open allowance, an NC allowance. So we're going to check how much time we have here, and we're going to also look at the odds. I see the comments coming in, and I do appreciate your attendance, guys. And we got a couple of 5-2 shots. No surprises there. These horses figure to be the favorites. Number 8, Small Field, and number 11, Old Flag. Small Field is out of that Shane Myers horse, and Shane Myers has won a couple of grass races in Mountaineer already this year. He's an Ohio-based conditioner, is Shane Myers. I think sometimes he is sort of a little bit kind of persona non grata over there because he can be kind of a bad boy behind the scenes. And management, wherever he runs, is not always completely enamored of Mr. Shane Myers, but I like him. I've always gotten along well with him, and I respect his horsemanship. His forte is fit horses. He's going to run a fit runner at you. And that was evidenced from his 2 wins. I think it's 2, right, in Mountaineer in the season. Those were both 2-turn turf races with horses that have been away for months and months and months. But that's how he rolls. He will run a fit horse at you. Now, this one has had a couple of races under his belt, Small Field. Small Field prefers turf, much prefers turf to dirt, and goes from dirt to turf in here. And Small Field likes the layout at Mountaineer. And this can be almost as important on grass as it is on dirt. The horse for course angle coming back to the scene of the win. Small Field can really quicken. It's kind of a push button type on turf, has a dazzling turn of foot when called upon. And you can see where this horse comes from out of it and made the quick move on August 27th against better competition than this, not just a higher claiming price than the 12.5 he's in for tonight, but a better field. And also This horse, I think, can go early if they slow things down enough. And that could come in handy in here because I'm not looking for brisk splits at all. As a matter of fact, the pace should be pedestrian in here, which could benefit small field, who I think can be very tactical if they want him to be small field. Now, I'm a little puzzled by his most recent race because it was an encouraging return to competition and an entry level allowance at Thistledown on dirt, May the 16th. So how come when he drops down to 12.5 and gets a condition on it, he runs straight out backwards? Maybe not good. Tough to tell where they're at with him now. But I think given Shane Myers' hot-handed mountaineer, especially on the grass so far this year, and the fact that this is, for my money, the best turf horse in the race. And I like the fact that he could be tactical or he could drop back. He could do either. Small field. I tend to say thumbs up that he's going to fire in here. But if he doesn't, don't come looking for me, because on that class drop last time, he should not have regressed and run that badly to beat nobody and lose by almost 20 lengths. The other favorite in here, Coach Oct at 5-2 is Old Flag, the 11. Old Flag got all the way down to $8,000 and missed the ticket. So he was dropping down from 16,000 there. Doesn't seem to like synthetics. So you might not want to blame him for that effort at Gulfstream Park on April the 5th. You might want to look before that at the grass form. And he's been a good grass horse. He's won at some big tracks on the turf. Colonial, I think he's triumphed like 3 times on the turf, Old Flag. But he just didn't fire his last few grassers at Tampa. Sometimes Juan Pablo can rejuvenate horses like this, especially at an Anheuser track. Okay? You feel me on that? Sometimes he gets these horses rolling again, which he did with Old Flag on June the 7th. That was one of those Shane Myers horses, General Mathis. And General Mathis, a lot of cred, and showed up fit off the bench to win it. Took a ton of late money. I think ended up favorite. And Old Flag came like a monster in the late stages. Now, Old Flag comes back at his next just 9 days later. I don't think it was a bounce because it had only been away 2 months before that return. And turf horses don't bounce as often as their dirt counterparts. Deep closers don't bounce as often as on-pace types, which run harder the whole way. I don't think it was a bounce. He just didn't run quite as well as he did the time before. And it was a distinct class drop from open 17.5 down to 12.5, never for life with a condition on it. So he didn't run as big, Old Flag. Now, I'm not sure the pace is going to suit him a whole lot in here, Old Flag. But if you figure Mr. Harry's not ready, okay, and maybe Captain Creed's not good enough, Captain Creed's another potential pace player in here, then it could even set up for like an Old Flag with a one move, the one big late run. Old Flag, but his most recent race, not as good as his local debut was. And another thing that would concern me just a little bit with Old Flag, the rider switch. I don't know if Arroyo has fallen out of favor with Juan Pablo. My assumption was Juan Pablo must have brought Mr. Arroyo here and promised him the world, promised him to ride first string on all these horses. Except now Arroyo's not getting named on a lot of these horses, as far as I can see, and would not be taking other mounts, given the choice between the Juan Pablo horses and outside trainers, because he's got to know where his bread was supposed to be buttered at when he came to town. Now you switch to Batista. Batista's a good jockey, but Batista is not quite as clever, doesn't finish quite as strongly, and is not as patient as Arroyo. So Batista, I would be a little bit worried that he's going to look at how far this horse drops back and get into him with a whip, like around the first turn or shortly after turning onto the backstretch, which I think might be counterproductive on a horse like Old Flag. Even though he drops back, I think it would be better if Mr. Batista just let Old Flag run his race. Just drop out of it and he'll be fired big enough. Maybe didn't have to go around the entire field, and maybe that the speeds accommodated and came back to him. But it's not a jockey change that I'm in crazy wild monkey love with. Captain Creed on the outside. His wins last season on the grass were both at 11 furlongs. I don't think those fields were real solid. I thought they were both a little bit fluky. Captain Creed can be very tactical, though, and in fact can show speed if called upon in a no-speed field. And this could be that kind of a spot. I know he's on the outside, but there's a long run to the first turn at a mile on turf. And man, did he move up off the claim there on June 7th to vie and lose by 2.5 lengths in a better race than this. So you cannot go completely to sleep on Captain Creed. Whole variety of tasty options in here. Batuta de Oro. wins a 4 life allowance there and tops that off with an unexpectedly good performance at almost 20 to 1 on an open allowance. So if he's ready, then he's another big player here. Some talent here, not a real easy race to read or necessarily find where the value is, I don't think. Back in a couple of minutes. Those of you guys that watch me regularly know what my banners are all about. A couple of features I have here in my dungeon presentation, misconceived morning line prices that I think are just woefully off. I will draw attention to there with a big red banner. And I pick on a couple at night. I cherry pick those. And then also the scroll across the bottom, possible race flow. Well, the scroll across the bottom tonight is, and it's a matter of how many characters I have to type in for each of these features. The scroll across the bottom is the misconceived morning line price points. And then the banner, I guess it's called a banner, is the race shape keys, race shape keys. You know what? I'm scratched to pieces on those tonight, though, and they really don't apply like I'd hoped they would when I conceived them and typed them in painstakingly, my little fingers, carpal tunnel, typing them in this afternoon because key scratches kind of invalidate my notes there. And I see where somebody's getting in the spirit of things. My man Dave and points out a couple of horses that he thinks are wrongly estimated on the morning line. And I see where he mentioned Bowden is one of them. Yeah, I agree with you, Dave. Bowden, I think, is going to be lower than that morning line for sure. But I do avoid picking on a morning line price point in a race that's scratched to pieces, because obviously that's going to alter the landscape and it's going to change the odds. Maybe because it changes the race dynamics, the pace, and maybe just because some strong horses, some contenders get taken out, and that kind of lowers the aggregate odds on everybody else. So, in races that are scratched to pieces, as Bowden's race is, I really don't pick on the morning lines maker. If somebody would have done that to me, I wouldn't have liked it at all, because I did the line for a long time. You guys know that. But yeah, I agree with you, man. The Bowden is going to be lower. Bowden was always going to be lower than where he was spotted on the morning line. But with Pete's Old Fashioned out, the one horse in that race, who was, believe me, and I had him listed on my misconceived price points as a horse that was going to be lower than 2-1. He was going to be 4-5 in there. Pete's Old Fashioned. So with him out, obviously the rest of them are going to be a lot lower. Anyways, that is Shane Myers' third turf win of the season. And that horse looked apart, man. Very competitive last year, wins in seconds right here. So he likes the course against much better horses than these. Very tactical, which was going to come in handy there with a pedestrian pace unfolding up top. He's push button. He can quicken on command their small fields. So if he shows up and fires, then he's going to win that race. He took a lot of late money. Ended up at 7-5 there. The comebackers weren't all that appealing to me because who wants to bet Burton Sip to get her out of ground, but the horse has been away since August. And I did mention that Juan Vasquez, who conditions Batuta de Oro, is 0-13 when they're off 6 months or more. So that's not his ballpark at all. Vasquez. Old Flag ran okay, but wasn't exactly gobbling up the ground late. I'm beginning to suspect that Old Flag has just a little hang in him, although certainly small field, the way the race played out with him perfectly positioned behind softish fractions and then getting first run, and everybody behind him had a much better trip than did Old Flag. I still think he beats Old Flag 10 times out of 10, to be really honest about it. Whatever the race shape. Another turf race coming up. This is our final turf race of the night, 5 furlongs, and this is just far lower quality. And really, nobody to really latch on to here or attach a strong opinion to. I don't think. This is a tough race for me to figure out. 5H turf, never 2 life, 12-5 claiming for these fillies and mares. And you can see where one of my race shape notes is out the window because she's twisted. And my question was, will she's twisted exhibit quickness enough to avoid being crossed over by swift foe, leave drama behind? Well, she's back at the barn, so my race flow notes right out the window. The 11 does pull in here, Mariette. And Mariette is, I think, the only turf winner in this field. No, 2 turf winners in the field. They bookend the bunch, right? Silva on the outside with Mariette, who did it first time out. First career start there. And Jaybird from the inside with Sweet Catherine Rose, who won by 5 at Ellis Park on turf as a 3-year-old. as a no 2-year-old, as a 2-year-old. Yeah, so it was supposed to be a grass horse, Sweet Catherine Rose, that's for sure. So those are your two turf winners, and that's usually a good place to start when you're talking about a field of horses unaccomplished on grass that haven't done much on turf. So as far as Sweet Catherine Rose goes, Sweet Catherine Rose is 9-5 on June the 9th there because it was not lost upon the wagering public that Sweet Catherine Rose had won by 5 at Ellis Park, an high claimer on turf, and was a turf winner. But she'd been away a year, and that's not really a Jaybird strong suit with straight up comebackers off that period of time. And I took issue. I remember doing the commentary here on that race, and I took issue with a form stat that had him more than respectable when horses are off that long. I think my exact words were, I haven't seen all these winners he has supposedly run with these horses away so long. It's not a knock on the guy, but it's not really his MO either. And that is my eerie text notification sound that I like to leave on because it was kind of popular with the Mountaineer viewers. And somebody texted and asked me if Stewart at Mountaineer is leaving. And yeah, I've been hearing about that, rumors about it for weeks now. And evidently they've listed where they want a steward at Mountaineer. They want to fill a position. It is so political, though. Who gets the steward positions at Mountaineer? It is beyond political. I'm not sure those are merit-based hires, to be really honest with you. And that's not the kind of thing I could have said when I worked in the industry. But that's common throughout the industry, right? Who do you know? Sometimes more than what you know. But West Virginia's particularly notorious for cronyism when it comes to steward hires. So Sweet Catherine Rose was off a year and gets gunned out there to chase her stablemate, Alien Princess, who's really fast. If she can move up from that, then as one of this field's two turf winners, she might be a factor. But a year is a year that she'd been away. And that's a long time. And that kind of signals some kind of disability. Not good to be absent from the game for that long. And the way she backed up, I can't believe one race is going to set her up to come right back and win. Plus, it seemed to me like she'd be better served to drop back a little bit and try to come on later, which is more Tapara's style, Luis Tapara. But that's a tricky gambit from the inside at 5/8 on the turf to take hold coming out of there and just hope for a trip and just hope your horse will kick it in after losing 14 lengths from the first call to the finish last time. Mariette on the outside, this race's other grass winner, as I amble over to check out what the odds are. And Mariette is 3-1 there and probably destined to be the favorite. Right now, a very tepid favorite at 3-1. Mariette wins at first career asking. That was on the Gulfstream Park lawn. He's only been back on turf one time, and that didn't go so well. Would not enter to be claimed at Gulfstream Park. Now, pretty sketchy since then. Was claimed last time. This is interesting. This Silva made it on down to southern West Virginia to halter one from big heavy boy Anthony Ferrier. Silva's really good off the claim. First time off the claim. And has been more active at the box locally and around this area than I've seen him because he almost always imports his horses. You guys know the drill from Phoenix and from Southern California and stuff like that. But he went to Southern West Virginia, claimed Mariette there. And Mariette regressed, it looks like, from the previous race that found her. Maybe come away poorly at a distance that starts pretty close to the first turn and missed by just a neck for a 47 buyer, loses 15 points off that speed fig when claimed. So I'm not sure the timing on this was really good. But those were swift fractions, and it was a quick horse chasing Mariette there. So I'm going to give a little extra credit for that. And I like Silva's record first off the claim, too. I will stand aside for the post parade and then come back and talk some more about this race. Leave Drama behind. He's got a serious case of the quicks, but just 1 for 22 and likes to put the brakes on. Now, she has been second on grass, but unplaced her other 5 tries on turf. So she's not a good horse, but she's got a good turn of foot, and that's the profile at 5/8 on the grass. Dancing Shadows is the only kicker in the house, is Dancing Shadows. I guess Mariette can run just behind the lead at this abbreviated 5/8 distance. At least she did that to score back in June of 2025. The one horse, I'm not sure what the strategy is going to be there. You know that Leave Drama behind is going to go. All in all, it could set up for a late move, but that's low percentage play at 5/8 on the turf. The only kicker in the house looks like Dancing Shadows, but her last race just completely melted down, and it was one from way off the pace. And that's a good kicker that beat Dancing Shadows, but that good kicker destroyed Dancing Shadows in the late stages there. I'm just not sure Dancing Shadows is enough horse to capitalize on not only a favorable race shape, at least on paper, but also the presence of Oliveros, who was uncanny on the Mountaineer lawn, but certainly a contender given the way this race figures to play out, huh? Animal Security wins last time, shortened up in distance and developed a stalking gear and a passing gear there, the Animal Security, but just a very unimpressive win on dirt, and now flips over to turf and takes on winners for the first time. So I'm not feeling that at all. They're headed towards the gate now, and 7-2 is as low as it goes, and those are numbers 1 and 9. 4-1 on Mariette, who drew in here as the 11 horse. I think Mariette's going to take the late money here. I don't think you're going to see the 4-1 you're looking at right now, although it kind of looks like Juan Pablo may have halted the wrong horse there. One reason that he likes taking a horse at Charlestown, and you've seen this angle play out a couple of times already at the Mountaineer Meet, is there's no jurisdictional jail. You can claim there and come here to run right off the bat. You don't have to wait the traditional 60 days until end of meet. And I'm sure Silva's completely aware of that. Went down there and picked on the big boy, huh? Just not a race that I have a good feel for. So I'm going to pass it. Good luck to you guys. Still no favorite. Nobody lower than 7-2. It never stays like this at Mountaineer. I would bet my bottom dollar the 11 horse is going to take late money and then only be favored, but definitely lower than 7-2. Well, I would have lost my bottom dollar if I would have wagered that the 11 would end the favorite and take the late money, because instead it was a 1 as that late money, which is just uncanny, and predicting the break and the first 100 yards just lands all over one of that field's 2 turf winners, the other turf winner from the inside there, the Jaybird steed, Sweet Catherine Rose, who looked like a horse that won by 5 at Ellis Park on turf. That Sweet Catherine Rose. It's just uncanny how accurate the late money can be, and it's very depressing too. I didn't bet the race, but it's still depressing. I can tell you what's even more depressing. My season-long wager, which I've bored you guys about numerous times here from the dungeon, on the Buccos, my beloved Pirates, to win 79 or more games. I am so down after checking out the score and seeing my man Paul Skeens, who used to be Superman, is again getting batted around and knocked around, gave up 5 runs in the bottom of the second. Whatever evil alien body snatcher has taken over Paul Skeens, please leave and give me Paul back. Give me Superman back, please. Please. What is up with Paul Skeens? The constant refrain in the Pittsburgh sports media has been for the last 2.5 years. Could we possibly afford Paul Skeens? Is there any chance we could sign under a contract if we gave him half of the franchise when he comes up for free agency? I think year after next. Guess what? Mr. Skeens is making himself very affordable now. Much, much to my dismay. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I really don't. Enough baseball, huh? And maybe Mr. Juan Pablo Silva will think twice before he messes with big heavy boy Anthony Ferrier again at the claim box. So we're off turf for the rest of the evening. We've got some interesting races coming up. Third race, scratch down to 5. Pete's Old Fashioned. I considered that a negative drop. He was going to be 4 to 5 here, and would not have minded shooting against him here. But the truth is, he was never going to run for the $7,500. Just too good to run for the 75. I don't know what he was doing in here, but he has been scratched. Pete's Old Fashioned. Let's set the header. This is non-winners since April 1st, 2026. So that is 3 months. But that's not a very restrictive condition, is it? Non-winners in 3 months. So obviously you want somebody who's won once or twice this year and still sneaks in under the heading. And I'll tell you a horse that fits that bill is number 7, Boudin. Boudin, baby. Boudin likes it here. He's 5 for 12 over the mountain main with one caveat. He was a Krista Hedrick's Jamin Davidovich horse then. And they're magic. They're absolute magic. There are a couple and they're magic. I was surprised that Jaybird, as good a horseman as he is, was able to get some justice out of Boudin. Because anytime a horse exits Krista Hedrick's digs, and read that Jamin Davidovich, they work together. I put him on my permanent pay no attention list and make a point of betting against them. Except Jaybird worked Boudin out for a couple of wins there in the wake of that claim at Mahoning, where he was a leading trainer. And look at some of those numbers that Boudin was putting up there in March. But here's where it gets more complicated. Boudin gets claimed from Mahoning's leading trainer and a horse with a history of running even better for Hedrick. So you're messing with a couple of very tough foes there on the change of hands through the claim box. And Boudin, okay, I get it, didn't want to go a mile and was not up to starter allowance competition on April the 21st, and maybe hated synthetics last time at Prescott. But when you look at those two lines, don't you kind of wonder if low percentage Moises Valdez is going to get much run at all from Booten. I do. And what a likely spot this is if he can get some run from Booten, because Booten fits the conditions to an absolute T, fits them better than anybody else in here. Does Booten. Booten is always liked 5.5. And Booten should be all over the lead here. I would assume Tricky Tracky has dibs on early command. But Tricky Tracky's a big question, having been off since the 1st of April. And he was off form at the end of his Mahoning campaign. And I've never seen the horse run well with fresh legs. At least I looked his lifetimes up, and he's never run well without benefit of prep. Tricky Tracky. Doesn't mean he can't here with a fast work under his belt, second best of 29. And whereas I don't like the Jaybird horses when they've been away like a year, no matter what the form stat says, no matter what formulator says, he's much more effective with these little labs, something like this, like 3 months or something like that. And some of this lab can be explained for jurisdictional jail. You got to wait 60 days when a horse gets claimed in Ohio before you can go anywhere else. Even if the track you claim the horse at shuts down, that horse, if you want to run the horse back within 60 days, you got to go to the next Ohio track and run. So some of that lab can be explained here with Tricky Track. You probably needed a freshening anyways, and certainly finds a soft pace here, a race that he can attack early and probably get the lead in. But if you look, Booten should be very alert here. Booten is very tactical. Booten can sit close, and Booten on paper is easily the second fastest horse to the first or second call in here, which sets him up under this condition, coming back to a track that he loves, to show if he's got anything to give Moises Valdez. So we'll see about that, won't we? Still trying to get over Paul Skeens getting banged around again. I think it's pretty simple. My man used to throw 101 on the gun. 99 was a standard, which I think was the highest among starting pitchers in baseball, his average a couple of years ago. And this year it's like 96 for his four-seamer, 97 occasionally. And they're batting him around. As much as it pains me to say that, because I love Paul Skeens and have nothing but respect for him. Love his patriotism, for one thing. And you got to dig any dude that can land Livy Dunn. Yeah, 4 minutes to post. A big surprise on the tote board here is Far From Home is 2-1. Is that based on the lack of speed in this race? Did they realize this horse is an ever 2 who doesn't even fit the condition? Nominators in 3 months for an ever 3. Nominators in 3 months is the best spot they're going to shop out for a never 3 lifer who was winless since last September. Doesn't fit the race at all. And beat absolutely nothing here when he set speed-friendly splits at a longer distance on September the 22nd. This is insanity for him to be this low at 2-1, Far From Home. I'm not feeling that at all, not even a little bit. Tricky Tracky's very live, I would say. And you can see where he had a good Mahoning campaign against better horses than these. He wins a starter. And last year at Mountaineer, he likes Mountaineer. He's 2 for 2 here. He's going to get bet here. Last year at Mountaineer, he wins both of his outings, once resoundingly, and the next one on a big class race, and it was starter optional. So he may be destined to be favored here. Wouldn't be surprised. Ramsey, number 4, would have to come from behind, and I'm not sure the setup exists up top, but he's capable for sure. I thought it was a negative drop when he was halted for $8,000 there on March 6th. I thought that was a little bit suspicious for a horse that had been running so well, took down an allowance purse, second in the next highest allowance, then third for 10. So all of a sudden he's in for 8. Now he wins with a sprightly speed fig, but it's like there was nothing left in the tank for the claimant there, who tried to put a good face on it and ran him in 3 straight starters, but is now giving the horse some time off. Has now given the horse, I don't know what, like 6 weeks, 7 weeks or something like that, and drops down no lower, not really lower than what he claimed the horse for, though. And maybe the freshening helps with Ramsey. I'm just not sure the help is up top for Ramsey in this race, though, to set it up for his late move. Team Linedecker on the outside at 5-1. I call that over bet because, again, you got to read the headings on these races to form an opinion. And this is just a weird condition. It's not even restrictive. Non-winners in 3 months. when you see something like this, which is probably outside their template, I wonder if it was a book race or something thrown up on the overnight. I think it was actually a book race. It's not like they put it up as an extra to fit one specific horse at the behest of one specific horseman. But when you see this condition, you start to figure who fits it best. And it ain't Team Leyendecker, who's a non-winner since last August, where he's got a Bowden who's won twice this year, and a Tricky Tracky who's won once this year. And also scores a couple of times late last year. Much better fit for the condition than Team Leyendecker, who's kept strictly West Virginia bred competition anyways, Team Leyendecker, and is not equipped to do anything if the pace slows down. Not at all Team Leyendecker. So I'm not feeling 5-1 on him at all, Team Leyendecker. And I can't believe, and it's going to disappear because you can't gauge the odds, even at a minute to post at Mountaineer, because they're still in the paddock and they'll drag the start for another 10 minutes. So the board's going to change dramatically. The great and powerful Oz has not spoken yet in the wind pool. So the way it looks now is not the way it's going to be. So I'm probably wasting my breath to ridicule the current price on Far From Home and the current price on Team Leyendecker. Guys, look at the 440 later on. What's your opinion in the comments? Let's look at the comments here. What's your opinion on the rematch between Cash Customer and Where You At, Vince? Kind of a cool rematch, huh? Steve says, probably pronounced Boudin. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think that's the way Peter Barry says it. I need some hooked on phonics. Kenny Neely says, 99% sure it's mechanics with your boy. Looked at a shelling he took 2 years ago to find he was opening his front hip just fractionally sooner and wider. I think he's changed his arm angle a little bit too. Another theory on Skeens is that playing in the World Championship baseball tournament and getting himself cranked up to go full tilt as early as March has him fatigued, even just halfway through the Major League season. There's another theory there too. Bang to win said, I like the 5 horse in this race. And there's Bob Blipman. I didn't wager, but it's so very suspicious when a horse leaves the gate at 5-1, clears the lead, and then is 2-1. A lot of folks find that suspicious. I guess maybe it's just the late money cycling in. But man alive, the late money, I can so often predict the first 100 yards, it seems like to me. They're almost uncanny at it. Of course, smart late money is going to focus on the speeds, so maybe that's the correlation. If you think it's bad at Mountaineer, you should see Mahoning in the wintertime. You will slit your wrist quietly instead of cashing your tickets on a front-running winner that outbreaks the gate at Mahoning when you see how the price plummeted down the backstretch. No Wendy's Cherry Coke, I see. Never was Cherry Coke. It's a diet cherry Dr. Pepper. Cherry Coke, it's kind of it tastes acidic and bitter to me. It just does. Paul says, Lone Mound for Invading Jock. I think I know this guy. I think that's my man from Florida. Is that you, Paul, from Florida? He says, Lone Mound for Invading Jock. What about the house if I actually would have gotten 5-1? No way you were getting 5-1 there, my man. Just no way we're getting 5-1. Hey, somebody fill me in because I can't see. I'm not going to shift screens and check it out. How many viewers we have tonight? I'm going to bet it's down from the last couple of nights because a lot of players probably don't realize that Mountaineer is running Wednesdays now. Used to hurt our handle. Our first couple of Wednesdays of the season, our handle would be down because some players simply wouldn't get the memo. And I'm sure they tried to put the word out at Mountaineer. And I've tried to put the word out here on the show as well. So anyways, did you guys check out that 440 later on? Kind of a specialty in mine between Cash Customer and Where You At, Vince, who's got a much greater top speed and came from way back, which you never see, to tag Cash Customer at the finish. And that 440 last time when you're in the first, I think it does boil down to those two. And I'll have some thoughts on the rematch a little bit later on. 30, down a bit from 42 last night. Yeah, I figured it's going to be down a little bit tonight because the Mountaineers first Wednesday. Uh, I'm going to eat nails to build my subscription number up to the required 500 so I can get paid. But I'm determined to stick with it and would appreciate all the help I can get from you guys to get the word out. Cash customer for me says Miracle 5555. You know what? I think that depends on cash. And I'm going to give a spoiler alert here and get into my pre-race for the 440, the sixth race, just a little bit. I think it depends on whether where you add Vince, who does not have 2 furlong quickness, but has that great top speed, whether he gets crossed over by Shake It Baby from his outside. If he doesn't get crossed over and gets another clean trip at Cash Customer, which he had last time miraculously, when he broke a beat and a half slow, the lane still stayed open for him. And can probably do the same thing to Cash Customer again if the lane stays open. And the only way it doesn't stay open is if it gets crossed over on. And there's only one horse that was outside, Shake It Baby. So if he doesn't think he gets crossed over on, then you could be in trouble again with Cash Customer. They're loading in the gate, so I'll shut up for So Tricky Tracky figured to control the early running there, which he kind of did. A little bit of a dispute from Far From Home, who somebody bet early on uh, because they liked how he was training in the morning and maybe the steam was out, but it doesn't matter how he's training. As a number three life in that condition, no chance for Far From Home. Now, Tricky Tracky was well prepared there, and Tricky Tracky's coming back to a track that he likes. He's 3 for 3 now over the mountain main. But given the pace scenario, he's going to get bet. And he ends up 4 to 5 there, this Tricky Tracky. So he did it with authority. And he certainly likes the mountain main. You can see why Jaybird took his horse back into the fold there. Tricky Tracky. And again, Jaybird's okay when they're off 2 months, 2.5 months, stuff like that. And part of that time away, explainable by jurisdictional jail. He was stuck for 60 days in Ohio, and Jaybird wanted to bring him here where the horse loves it. Plus, Jay doesn't run at Thistledown. Not much at all, anyways, the way that he does at Mahoning. So he was always going to wait for Mountaineer with Tricky Tracky. Now, since Tricky Tracky did get some entertainment from Far From Home there, for a couple of furlongs at least, Ramsey probably should have made a little more dent late in Tricky Tracky than he did. Ramsey definitely hung, and he is not a shadow of the kicker that he was over the cold weather months in Austintown. Ramsey, it happens. Either this trainer can't get as much run from him as the previous guy, or just as likely, he was in Austintown back on March the 6th there. Boudin, I'm going to say the name the way it was recommended in the comments there. Boudin completely missed a break, but I'm skeptical of whether this guy's going to get any run at all. Mr. 7% Moises Valdez, that he took from the leading trainer at Mahoning, Jay Bernardini, and especially, and this is important, a horse that Jaybird I even thought was unlikely to get run from, given the horse's history of running his very best for the awesome Krista Hetrick / Jamie Davidovich barn. Team Leyendecker at 3-1 there. If you guys are offended by profanity, cover your ears. But one of the joys of doing this is I'm unshackled. I can say what I want. Team Leyendecker, and I'm not redboarding in a negative way here because I said it before the race. Team Leyendecker had no chance, 0 chance there for various reasons. And for Team Leyendecker to be 3-1 is the goofiest, wackiest shit I've seen on the Mountaineer Tote board in quite some time. If you cover your ears there, you can take your hands away now. I haven't dropped an F-bomb yet, though. You can do that on YouTube, though, right? They're not going to run me out of YouTube if I drop an F-bomb. And yeah, my man Paul, that is my dude there. And I'm sorry, Paul, Laguna Beach, yeah. You know what? I'm so stupid on geography. And I can ace a game of trivia. I mean, I'm really tough to beat. Entertainment, sports, and stuff like that, politics. But geography, I couldn't find 10 states on a map. Seriously. So I actually thought Laguna Beach was in Florida, my man. I did. I thought you were from Florida. But yeah, that's Paul's big move, and he makes it work too. Lone mount for a ship-in jockey. My man was preaching that stuff to me for years at Mountaineer before I left. And my man, good friend of mine, has texted me tonight, Mike from Columbus. My man, Mike, wants to get together for lunch, and I would love to hang with you, my dude, very, very much. One little issue I have, though. I do not consider myself, and I don't want to go through this whole litany again, any kind of a victim. Mountaineer did not act outside of their rights or mistreat me or anything when I got let out of there. Doesn't mean there's not some hard feelings, though. It doesn't mean there's not some animosity that goes both ways there. So if you're going to be staying a Mountaineer, you're probably not going to see me, my man. And unfortunate. If you want, you can stop at the house. Why don't you stop out to my place when you come to town? Would love to host you, man. Would love to host you. But again, Mountaineer did not act outside their rights. Had already resigned, and they had a right to exercise my resignation a couple of days before I was supposed to bid fawn to do and stuff like that. And nobody handcuffed me. Nobody had firearms. Nobody roughed me up. They acted very much within their rights, for sure. And I'm nobody's victim. I am nobody's little victim, ever, never, never. And I wish them well. I hope the place prospers for sure. Doesn't mean there's not some hard feelings though between Mountaineer and I. So, my man Mike, if you're going to be staying at Mountaineer, I am probably not going to pop up. I may change my mind about that in the future. I might, but I haven't been back since I left. One time to make a football bet, to kind of sneak in and make a football bet, is if I can sneak anywhere at 295 pounds and about 6'2.5", huh? With his bald head that catches the light and blinds all onlookers. In the paddock for race number 4, does it seem like tonight's program is proceeding slowly? And I appreciate you guys popping up in the comments and checking out how many viewers we have tonight and pushing subscription levels. Thanks very much. If we ever do get to 500, because I can get paid at 500, whoever ever can make it here, either by plane, train, some kind of a seafaring craft, or one of those bicycles that have motors on them now, which are kind of cool. We will have a cookout at my expense in my backyard. And I will be the grill master and serve you guys up righteous out of my own pocket. And you know what? I got a huge finished basement with like a couch and a fold-out bed, and I'm thinking like 3 big recliners, and we'll do something, man. We'll put pallets in the basement. You guys can go to the mattresses, kind of like the mafia, like in The Godfather. And yeah, I will host you guys for the cookout of all cookouts if we ever get to 500 subscribers. And I am a man of my word. You will learn I'm a man of my word. Fourth race is at ratings handicap. These horses have earned a number between 30 and 50, and I'm a little skeptical of the Equibase rating system. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to delve into that too deeply because I think I'm going to do a video about the perceived inefficiencies, at least what I see wrong with the Equibase rating system that some tracks are predicating conditions on now. Okay? But right off the bat, any race header that lets Larimar in against the likes of Fancy Princess without risking claim has got to be faulty. Does it not? And I wonder how many of these horses knew, how many of these horsemen knew when they came to the entry box here that they were going to pit their steeds against Larimar. Do you think Team Fancy Princess expected to hook Larimar out of this newfangled kind of racing condition and this type of a non-claimer? Or even Silva with Fair Trade? You think he thought he was going to be in with Larimar? Or Lynn Cutno with Waterworks? Do you think they expected to encounter the likes of Larimar, who was the Distaff Horse of the Year here, I think 2 years ago or something like that, was quite the phenom when she came here from Phoenix, Larimar. Now, she's not what she was, but she's still a 6-time winner over the last 2 years and very competitive efforts, including a win there at the Lofty for Mahoning, $25,000 allowance optional or claiming levels. So she's a horse of a different cut than the rest of these. And in fact, her ratings number is right at the tipping point here. I think it's 58. And you can look it up at Equibase. You can go through the horse search and pull the horse up, and hers is 58. I'm going to do a video about this, I think. So I'm not going to say too much. But her number, her Equibase number, towers above those of her opponents here. So she's supposed to outclass this field, not only on form, but also by virtue of the Equibase numbers that predicate eligibility for this, determine who can run in this race. So I'm a little skeptical. And she can lose this race. She's not a cinch, I don't think. But she's not supposed to be in a non-claimer against the likes of Fancy Princess and Waterworks and Fair Trade. She's just not, unless it's a starter and her eligibility traces to some specified time frame. And if I'm getting too tactical, then tell me, Mark, start talking movies or something. But the reason I started to talk movies on the Mountaineer feed is their in-house handicapper was because I'm a hardcore racing analyst, and you can only pound people over the head with deep, intricate takes and deep dives into breaking races down for so long before you have to break up the monotony was something that's a little bit more entertaining. And that was about as technical as I'm going to get tonight. So let's talk about the horses now. Ratings numbers aside, let's kind of go through the field. And it's a field of 7. We got 7 here. What if the defections did not expect to hook Larimar? What if that is what was up here? Anyway, Larimar won a ratings handicap last time, and that was from 40 to 60. So that was a higher class ratings handicap than this. Although with only 3 opponents in there, once she's up there for the lead, she's probably not going to lose because Crimson Knights is too cheap, even though Crimson Knights came back to win a couple. She's a cheapo. And the other 2 don't really have passing gears, or Larimar's kind of tenacity. They're pace-based horses without Larimar's fight. And that's what distinguishes Larimar. She's got a world of fight. I've even seen her rebid what she did at Mahoning to win for $25,000 there against really good mares. Getaway Bay, who's crazy quick, and Lucky Cougar, who's just a stone racehorse, whatever the distance. Now, Larimar's last race, it was kind of a soft pitch for her, almost like a pumpkin lobbed up to home plate there. And some of her buyers aren't as good as others. If you want to look at it from that perspective and try to play devil's advocate. And really, when you do what I do here, and you should do this as well, as self-respecting horse players, you should try to make a case against a horse that's going to be a short-priced favorite. And if I wanted to make a case against Larimar, who is a very gritty speed and is pulled outside the other speeds here, is Larimar. I'm not even sure that's a good thing, though, because Larimar's got the rare tenacity to fight for all she's worth inside horses to get shaded, which is one of the worst trips conceivable in thoroughbred racing, and still keep fighting and fight on to win, Larimar. But basically, she's well drawn here, outside the other speeds. Larimar, she's got a world of fight, and she's as quick as anybody here to the first call. Plus, on the surface of things, mainly offer Mahoning form. And it's a strange thing to say because this is her house with a 10 for 20 local record, but off that cold weather campaign at Mahoning, she outclasses this field. But some of the buyers not as good as others. Her most recent race really wasn't as tall a task as it might seem at first glance, given the complexion of that field and the way the race played out. And also, she's back out the 6 furlongs here. And one thing this field can do, maybe, is pony up some early opposition for the big girl. The fractions figure to be fairly stiff by filly and mare standards. Back in a minute. Guys, I think it's fair to say that the Constitutionalist, Opposite the Crowd, and Fancy Princess are non-contenders here, right? I know Fancy Princess won smartly but the speed fig was low. And that's not just a $4,000 race, but it's a low condition race. And she was able to get the lead there because there was no other speed. Now, what's interesting is Waterworks and Fair Trade could inconvenience the front running style Larimar down the backstretch because they both won last time and won smartly in front running fashion at the shorter 5.5 furlong distance. So they can make Larimar step hard here just to tack on to the lead down the backstretch. And Larimar specializes in competition. That is for certain. I'm not sure Fair Trade is talented enough, even at her best, to beat Larimar, given her body of work here. Fair Trade. Sweet Queen Bee is not what she was. And once Fair Trade got the drop on her, then Fair Trade was long gone. Fair Trade, it seems like when she's in easy enough, she just marches to the front and walks her beat. But when she's in a little bit tougher, as she was with Kanazawa on April the 27th, or Miss Jane Planner on May the 18th, and she takes a drubbing. So she will beat up on lesser horses, but get beaten up on by better horses. But she does have 5.5 furlong speed, which could definitely gum up the work here for Larimar. Waterworks has the history to compete with Larimar here. She's a former Clouston horse, whereas Larimar's a current Clouston horse, claimed by Lynn Cutno, who's a real Sharpie there. So I would not assume there's going to be a drop-off in performance here for Waterworks. J. Michael Bear was standing in for Clouston with Waterworks. Waterworks has been part of the exact and 13 of 16 over the Mountain Main and used to keep company with the same kind of competition as Larimar here, allowance optionals and stuff like that. I just never seemed to run poorly. And like Larimar, she's a speed with a lot of heart and a lot of tenacity as Waterworks. Now, seemed to have gone south in terms of good form, and literally at Tampa, where she just lost her mojo and didn't even break once. But if she comes away well here off that win last time out, and I grade her high on that because that's a big speed fig for a filly mare condition race. And the splits were dynamic as well. And she was flattered by You So Money Baby, who came back to run a 76 buyer despite a troubled trip in her next one. So Waterworks, the resurgent Waterworks with so much love of her own for the Mountain Main could be a handful early on, and maybe for a large part of this journey for Larimar, depending on how she breaks here. So while I don't think Larimar is any kind of a cinch here, I don't think she should be eligible to run and not risk claim against obviously lesser horses like Fancy Princess, Fair Trade, and Waterworks when it comes down to recent class. I think something's wrong with the system that Larimar can come in here against these horses and their connections, her connections don't have to risk claim. But again, I don't think she's a cinch. I don't think that at all. You got to hand it to the good folks that came up with and the proponents of the Equibase ratings system, which supposedly some bright future in horse racing, all the races are going to be ratings, handicaps. Got to hand it to them. I guess they sat around some kind of a boardroom table and had their glasses of ice water and stuff and came up with a way. And this is not easy. Don't try it at home, kids. That Larimar, freaking Larimar, can run against a bunch of $4,000 and $5,000 conditional horses without the connections risking claim. Without the connections risking claim. And will you see what was sown from that seed? I think Larimar was at the wire when the rest of them were at the 8th pole, correct? I am so going to do a video about the Equibase rating system. We'll drill down much more deeply. I got some other good stuff gleaned from that particular race that I'm kind of holding back for the video. But so that's the result. The brave new world of Equibase ratings conditions. Larimar, freaking Larimar, gets to run against Fancy Princess and can't get claimed. And is going to be at the wire when Fancy Princess is still at the quarter pole. So might want to go back to the drawing board and come up with a new idea, guys. And it's not a knock on the guys that design the ratings. It really isn't. But if that race is any evidence, count me out. I'm out. Unbelievable. Just unreal. Unfreaking real. I feel like the world has shifted underneath me since I left Mountaineer. And not all for the good, by the way. Yeah, I'm going to put that video up maybe tomorrow or the next day. And I'm going to keep adding video content that is not analysis based, where I do my between races thing, which is my forte. It's what I did for 25 years. It's my strong suit. Matter of fact, it's just about the only thing I know how to do in the world, aside from officiate horse races, which I was pretty good at too. I made my bones as a well-respected racing official before I ever started to do TV. But my strong suit, the thing that I do is what I'm doing now, talking races, between races and breaking them down. Hopefully in an enlightening and entertaining manner. But I'm also going to post some video content that is a little bit outside the box, that is very different than what I'm doing right now. And it will generally come down to rants against various facets of the industry, because there's another thing that I do. And I just want to stress, thanks for showing up, guys. I don't consider you viewers. I consider you my friends. And you know what? If you're lurking out there and watching me and you don't consider me a friend, or you don't really appreciate what I do, but you do find it somewhat compelling, I appreciate your patronage too. I really do. And don't even have to tell me who you are. If you want to show up, please hit subscribe though, because the only way I can keep doing this is if I get enough subscribers. So it's like I used to say when I formed and forged Mountaineer Nation, from the Mountaineer In-House show. And it got big and sprawling and worldwide. And then who knows how many thousands of members, unofficial members, because there was no card you could carry to confirm your membership. If you were a member and thought you were a member, then indeed it was legitimate. But I used to say, you don't have to be a member of Mountaineer Nation to tune in and to watch the show. And you didn't have to agree with me or appreciate my opinions. If you tuned in just to spite me or to oppose me, that's what horse racing is about. Difference of opinions, maybe difference of personalities. So I appreciate you showing up, even if you don't consider yourself a dungeon denizen necessarily. It's kind of like I used to say that hate is the real engine that fuels sports viewership. Because I can only love one team, in my case, the Pittsburgh Steelers in football, Pittsburgh Pirates in baseball, but I can hate a whole lot of other teams. Well, I can hate on a whole lot of other things, a lot of other teams. And I wonder sometimes if that isn't the case with horse racing too. Maybe a serious player has contempt for a given super trainer, that he's skeptical of the methods, or maybe hates a jockey or two or 10. And that kind of maintains the fire and the interest. Because again, And I think this crosses over from mainstream sports. I can only love one team per sport, but I can hate on an innumerable amount of other franchises. I think maybe that fires racing viewership too. So we're coming up now to not a good race, but a race that I put a race shape note on there, race shape keys, and very simply in the fifth, pieces appear in place to set this up for an off the pace ticket. I think that is kind of how it plays out. And we'll get into that now. This is a 1 miler for number 3 fillies and mares. Cheap claimers, for sure. And to just kind of draw up the pace picture here. Number 5, Impetuous. I know that's not the horse I want to talk about. Number 6, Inner Fury. Yeah, Inner Fury is 23-1. I don't care that John Brown won a race where the horse had been away a year. Will Rogers Downs' past performances a couple of nights ago. What a fluke that was. But Inner Fury is recent. Started on June the 22nd there. And it was a closer-friendly pace at Mountaineer. And Inner Fury was out there chasing to the first call. And Inner Fury's been on top like 4 or 5 times on the page at Remington, Sam Houston, places like that. So Inner Fury, I would say, a possible pace factor, if not a probable pace factor. Out of this barn, the way Inner Fury's been backing up, would just be a role player here, I think, to maybe he'll set it up for somebody to come from behind. And then you got number 8, Gospel Expression. Gospel Expression, another John Brown horse, has been away since October. Now, John Brown did win a couple of nights ago with the horse away from the races. And in fact, I think 2 of his wins this year with comebackers. I don't know if that makes Gospel Expression live or not. This barn, he's got to pinch himself, I think, and look at his record with 4 wins already in the year, because I think this guy goes whole decades without winning 4 races. And it's tough to get a route with a comebacker at Mountaineer. This horse did run well fresh, though, back in September, did Gospel Expression. But more importantly, Gospel Expression's been on top at first call in 4 of his last 5 races, and once even in a bona fide sprint going 7-8. So there's another pace factor. Questionable from the standpoint of fitness, because Gospel Expression is not recent. And Gospel Expression doesn't have a good post either. Number 8 at a mile. And then you come over to Mean to Me, and I'm still kind of drawing the pace picture in broad strokes here. Number 3, Mean to Me, sprinted last time and was well within striking distance of 22 and change there early on. This horse vied for the lead the time before that from an unfavorable post position, and has been known to get the lead at 2 turns and press on the lead at 7/8. Whitaker's very aggressive. So I think some things could be happening up front here in this race. And it's pretty easy to predict an off-the-pace ticket when you can identify the speeds and you don't respect the speeds. It doesn't even have to be a situation where they're going to bang back and forth, although I think this could be such a situation, as a situation where when you look at the speeds, you don't think they're likely to hold on. I mean, individually, even before you put them together as part of the overall picture or make it a competitive pace in your mind, when you don't think that they're very strong. And I can put big knocks on the speeds here. And when you put them all in the pace mix and maybe things get competitive on top, I would predict this race is going to favor off the pace runners. I don't think that's any groundbreaking assumption. A lot of good handicappers are going to look at it like that. And a lot of novices too. Because the first thing either a good handicapper or a novice does when they crack the form is start looking and seeing if it's a lone speed situation or not. One of my tricks, not a trick, but one of my philosophies when I bet horses with real money, with my own cash, which you kind of do here and dabble between races. But it's hard to do this and focus on your own wagering account at the same time. But I find that my best scores have come from races in which I don't agree with the public on how it's going to play out up top. When one race shape might seem obvious on paper, but I don't think that's necessarily the way it's going to play out. But in this instance, I think the way it looks like it's going to play out is indeed the way it's going to play out. And I think it's going to be closer friendly. And the closers I'm looking at, number 1, Cohart, number 2, Eloper. And the board reflects the race flow here. for those horses to be. Two of the three lowest in the win pool right now. I'll step aside for the post parade. Out of habit more than anything, because my mic can't get cut now the way it was at Mountaineer when Pete did the post parade, but just out of habit, I'll be back after the last horses lined up at the post parade. I think the two logical off-pace types in there are Cohort and Eloper, numbers 1 and 2, and they're getting bet up there as well. They're not the favorites. Handle on You, who can also sit back and play the patience game and probably gets first run on Cohort and Eloper. Handle on You's definitely got a chance. With that 2 for 25 record, though, she's kind of ho-hum. It seems like she's received some good rides. When the pace is competitive, then she is ridden patiently. And when the pace is slow, then she goes up and tries to take advantage. So she has tried to capitalize on the race flow before. His Handle on You. Last time, really didn't fire her best, except Jay Rivers made them all look bad. Was a dropper and just way, way classier than the rest of that field. With some recent allowance for him at Mahoning, and showed up as advertised, did Jay Rivers, with an early move up the inside. So actually, that's not a bad race from Handle on You. And Handle on You will be behind the pace if it heats up top and they go quickly. And we'll get first run on the closers. Cohort, not as good as that runaway win looked. That was bogus, nothing behind her back on October the 8th last year, but would win again, albeit with a low buyer speed fig. I think our most recent race might represent kind of a sly improvement because, again, she was third, but third with an elevated buyer, which was close to her career best, and Jay Rivers, very, very tough, made them all look bad. Eloper, I like the way Eloper ran last time at 28-1. I don't like the 2 for 40 record, though. So there is that, guys. There is that. I see where somebody says in the comment section, and I'm going to flip back over and check it out. I think it's my man, Chris Ho-Jin Lee. Thanks for making the scene, dude. Much appreciated. And then somebody says, go Browns. Oh, boy, oh, boy. You know what? Hate the Browns, but in a respectful way. I mean, really, if you're wearing a Browns jersey at a Steeler game, I'm not going to harass you or let anybody else do it because I don't roll like that. Somebody says, Mark, what were your ratings? Did you ever know what they were when you did the Mountaineer show? No, I just know they were out there. I have been called a cult figure, and I think the idea is that my fans, the people that follow me, are fanatic about it and really dig what I do. I think I went a little beyond that, though, because, man, I used to get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of texts from all over the world when I did the Mountaineer show. So I know my fan base is still out there. They don't know where I'm at, though, or what I am doing, because I don't think they're a social media demographic. So it's going to be kind of hard to corral them and get them back and apprise them of what I'm up to right now. But I have been called a cult figure. I never took it as an insult, but I think it's meant to mean that My fans, my followers are fanatical in their affinity for what I do, but maybe implies my fan base not that big. I might beg to differ because I think the fan base was huge when I did the Mountaineer show, but I didn't get ratings. The only feedback I got was on my phone, and that's one reason I put my number out on the air so I could kind of get a feel for how many folks were out there. So they were all over Handle on You with the money there, 9-5 on Handle on You, I guess based on consistency. And she was in with a much better horse last time, Jay Rivers, for sure. Handle on You goes up and joins the pace, and it's swifter tonight than is her custom Handle on You, but she was feeling it. She was doing it very easily. And she wins with authority there, does Handle on You. Not a big fan of hers, but I get it. I understand it. As the back courses just never really kicked in. A Loper, Cohart, and horses like that. Long Shot, Hyper Awakening part of the ticket from off the pace, and that was really how you wanted to run there. But Handle on You clearly was much the best there, much the best. And boy, you could tell early on. She was doing it so easily. She's coming out on an interesting race, 2 furlongs. I call it the 440. The legendary 440 at Mountaineer. The race that made Cutting Edge Tech and Huntress Helena and Phone My Posse again, who made the lead, I think in 41 of his last 42 official regulation races. Wow. We did it differently, though. It was a starter race. Any claiming price qualified you, or name your own claimer, which is an oddball in racing office parlance. And we used it as kind of a star-making vehicle in the age of the bridge jumper. Because, man, they would go far and wide to get as much in as they could to show in the likes of Huntress Helena, Cutting Edge Tech, and Phone My Posse again. And the appeal was you wanted to watch those horses. They were household names. But you knew who was going to win. And favorites scored like probably at a better than 90% clip at the 440. I get another call. My mic wasn't on. This thing's so touchy. If I touch it, I am done. If I touch it, then my sound's not coming through. And apologies, guys. Next race is a 440, 7,500. They're claimers now, Mountaineer, because the horseman wanted it to be competitive and a good gambling race instead of a star-making, bridge-jumping vehicle that created the likes of Cutting Edge Tech and Huntress Helena and Phone My Posse again, who made the lead in like 41 of his last 42 lifetime starts. I get it. They're better gambling races now. But I liked them when they were glorious star makers back in the day. That's what I really liked the 440s, and that's the way we did it. You got some mares in there against the boys because they can do it at the 2 furlong distance. They can compete. More likely in this instance, though, the filly race didn't fill. We used to put it the day before the male race in the book to give the horsemen an option with the fillies in case their race didn't go. They could come back against opens against the guys. Miss Knuckles, once upon a time, could probably compete with the big two here, but she's no longer quick or sudden the first part of her 440s, so she's no longer fast enough to compete with the marquee horses in here. The rematch between Cash Customer and Where You Add Vince. You guys get what I'm saying about how it was a bridge jumping special. The way we wrote it, either under open starter conditions, technical term, or oddball name your own claiming price conditions. The horsemen wanted this. They wanted claiming prices, cheap claiming prices on this, so they could compete. And Kevin Patterson wouldn't win it every single time. The same horse wouldn't win it every single time. And I get it. And the favorites no longer win 90% of the time in these races. And maybe that's not a bad thing, but I still kind of long for the glory days of when you had the stars in this race. They were must-see TV and household names nationwide. And the racing community. I really do long for those days. Getting down to the nitty gritty here, the rematch between Cash Customer and Where You At Vince. Cash Customer had won 3 in a row, 2 of them with authority. Those are big margins at the 440, 2 lengths and a length and a half there. You just touch this thing and the sound goes off. Apologies, guys. I'm still kind of getting the feel of this equipment. Cash Customer, authoritative margins there. In April and May, and then he comes back at 90 cents on the dollar and gets tagged by Where You Add Vince. You can see how fast Where You Add Vince is at top speed. Just incredible. 21-1 at Charlestown. And you can't go that fast unless you're super quick at the Halstead Speed Built. And he's tacked on those leaders. And you can see where he always gets the lead at 6 and 6.5 and even 5/8. He's crazy fast at top speed Where You Add Vince. But I kind of wondered if he had that quick first step that is requisite to success at the 440. It's a different kind of quickness. We're not just talking about top speed. And indeed, Where You At Vince did something rarely seen at the 440 distance. He was like 5 lengths out of it, like 100 yards into the race, and just began just zooming, absolutely zooming when he hits his stride, his top speed, to nail Cash Customer at the wire. And it looked like Cash Customer was in slow motion compared to Where You Add Vince and deep stretch there. So we know what we're dealing with here. Cash Customer has this sudden, quick start that is usually required to win at the 440. And Where You Add Vince, and you see this all the time from 6 furlong speeds that sometimes break 4th at 6.5, 4th at 5/8, 8th at 5.5. You shorten them to the 440, and you better be careful that they don't break too sluggishly to win. So we know Where You Add Vince is much faster than Cash Customer at top speed, but he needs a clean trip, an open lane. Now, he was so fortunate last time that the lane stayed open for him, and he was unfettered to come from like 4.5, 5 lengths back at the 440. Now, if he gets the same trip here, he will probably run Cash Customer down again, despite whatever physical issues obviously exist here. Where You Add Vince, you don't claim him for $25,000 at Turfway Park. A horse with his history of winning at 6 and winning at 5 and stuff like that, with a mind to come here and go for $7,500 and restrict yourself to the 2 furlong races. So this horse isn't right. It's got some issues, but still has that top speed, that incredible top speed. I think what this comes down to is, does the 7 horse Shake It Baby, who can be quick from the gate, does Shake It Baby cross over on Where You Add Vince coming out of there and complicate his journey a little bit more than it was complicated last time when he had the unfettered lane in front of him to get up and tag Cash Customer? And we'll talk a little bit more about that after the post break. I had a big daily double ticket punch to cash customer last time, and I'm counting the money and listened to the call the next day. And Pete had it all wrapped up for cash customer, understandably so. Where you had Vince gets up, and man, I was just feeling so sorry for myself and just stomping all over the place in a bad mood for a couple of hours. Got a huge daily double to cash customer. I think that was a nightcap. And nobody comes from like 4.5, 5 lengths back, 100 yards into a 440 to win. Now, Shake It Baby is not as fast as she used to be. Had trouble getting the lead even at 6 furlongs there, and then comes back to be clearly outfooted. The visibility is really fast, though, on May the 17th, but she can be rapid out of the gate. And I think the fate of this result hinges strictly on whether Shake It Baby is able, and Shake It Baby is not a player here. She's not a contender. My only question is she quick enough to take away the 6 horses path? Because Where You At Vince did not break with the 440 rapidity last time. I wish I could give a definitive opinion on which of these horses I think is likelier, but I think it hinges on that one obscure portion of the race. I really do. I don't make Can She Scoot good enough to beat these horses anymore. She's only good enough when she's in front a couple of lengths at first call, and she ain't going to do that to cash customer. Miss Knuckles, I don't think she can hold her own in the 3 posts down there between horses. Coastlandness competes in these 440s because she can no longer run a bona fide even 4.5 or 5/8. And she's never won one of the 440s either, by the way. She has not. I'm a little bit surprised that Where You At Vince is lower in the win pool than cash customer. I thought maybe the public would say, okay, Where You At Vince, you're not that quick at the 440 and you still got up from way back last time. Let's see you do it again against cash customer. I wonder how much of this money is poured in on Where You At Vince and the belief that he's not going to get crossed over by the 7 horse out of the gate. Or are they simply looking at all that sexy speed where he's getting the lead race after race after race in higher class claimers? And then 21-1 at Charleston. That is a rarefied air, man. At 4.5 furlongs down there. It's just absolutely rarefied air, man. And he's even money up there. And then there's kind of an underlying issue here as well. Where You At Vince is not right. I don't think this comes into play necessarily to 440, but he's not right, man. He didn't fire at even money, loses by 18 when he gets claimed, and he gets claimed for 25,000. And now 3 starts later, he's in for $7,500. So they're sticking their tongues out and daring somebody to reach in and claim Where You At Vince. Feel pretty sure the winner's going to be one of them. I'm not sure that's real helpful, though, since the 5 horses 9-5 and Where You At Vince is 6-5, 6-5. If Vince does, I'll come away cleanly enough to hold his lane from the 7 horse, then he will probably run cash customer down again. If he doesn't, then I think the balance tilts towards cash customer. So where you at, Vince does get a clean trip and actually broke a little better than he did last time, I thought. And once he hits his top speed, if he's got a clear path to do it, he's just too fast for Cash Customer. And he's going to get up in time to nail Cash Customer. And you know what? You can see that coming like a slow speed train wreck if you bet Cash Customer. I didn't play the race because where you at, Vince is just faster than Cash Customer. He's not as quick, but he is faster. Now, you put him between horses or down close to the inside and put some other Swifties around him, and his slowish break is going to be more of an issue, I think, where you add Vince. You know what I should have done? I should have done my due diligence and pulled up some video on the breaks of that outside horse is what I should have done. And to see if she breaks inward or outward. That's kind of how they handicap dog races. Professional dog handicappers have all these charts, which dogs duck for the outside, which duck for the rail when the rabbit is let loose. And in that case, I could have taken a page from them and pulled up video on Shake It Baby and watched her head on breaks to see if she breaks outward or inward, because she clearly broke outward a little bit there. And if that's her habit, then I could have known that she was not going to take the path away from where you add Vince, in which case he is inexorable, as certain as death and taxes, to get up and put a dirty beat on the quicker Cash Customer again. Now, I see in the comments here, Kenny Neely, a good handicapper, is talking about that winner and wonders if horse is going to learn to break better from the standing start. Kenny, I think the horse is a cripple. I think that's what's going on here. I think they got the booby prize when they took the horse for $25,000 at Turfway Park, and had to be thinking our only option here is to revert to these cheap 440s at Mountaineer. And I think this horse's issues would surface in a big, big way if they ever try to run him longer than, say, 4.5 furlongs or something like that, where you add Vince. That's kind of what I think is going on there. And then Bobby puts up a good question, says, is it my imagination or are things tight there in the quarter mile shoot at the head of the stretch? Very, very tight, Bobby. And let me tell you what comes into play as a consequence of that. There is no run up when they run the 440, whereas at 6 furlongs or 5.5, I think it's 32 feet or something like that, whatever the case. But the teletimer starts bang, just right from the jump. There is no flag fall at the 440. And let me tell you what the consequence of that is. You will see the times like 22-1, 22-2 from some very rapid horses that never lose the 440s. That's because there's no run up there. If you ran them 6 furlongs out of that long shoot and gave them the run up before the flag falls and the teletimer starts, they'd go 21-2, 21-3 or something like that. So you can't compare 440 fractions to fractions at any other sprint distance in Mountaineer, because you're talking about apples and oranges, because they're so scrunched there in that quarter mile shoot at the top of the home stretch that there's no run up. There's just literally no running start before the teletimer kicks in. I should have taken the effort to pull up Shake It Baby's head-ons to see if she breaks outward or if she breaks inward. Because the minute she veered out just a little bit at the start, that's a license to steal for where you add Vince. Because if nobody's going to take his path, and there's only one candidate to do that on his outside here, then you're going to get the same result as last time. Six furlongs for the 7th race. This is non-winner since July 1st of 2025. Full calendar year, bottom claiming price, $3,200 here. So for veterans, this is as low as it goes, the most restrictive condition, non-winners in 12 months. And also the lowest claiming price, $3,200. So this is a big drop for Bohemian Style, who was in for 10 last time. Against some way better competition, Dropkick Murphy and Heroes Man, but there were some quicksters in there, boy, and much better horses than these. And it's not just a big descent in claiming price, but the condition that comes along with this $3,200 that makes this about an 8-level drop for Bohemian Style. And even those 75 for Lives at Mahoney are like eons above in quality what he takes on here, Bohemian Style, because they were not just a higher claiming price, but also a higher condition before life. So Bohemian Style is going to be some kind of a silly short price here when he gets away from much tougher horses, and he wants the lead. And normally, this kind of a multi-level class drop will provide speed relief for the likes of Bohemian Style. Now, I can put a couple of knocks on the horse as I'm going to take 1 second here to flip my screen and check out what's going on. And yeah, I got good advice here to flip it towards me and make sure I can see the red. And that's a really good idea. And I have done that a little bit. Thanks for the advice there in the comment section, guys. I can be so freaking stupid. There's nobody as dumb as I am, believe me. The world is yet to produce a stupider human being than me. So we are 6 minutes to post. That's an eternity. And still in the paddock here. Bohemian Style. I guarantee they don't want to see Poker Partner on his outside because Poker Partner has deteriorated like nobody's business and can't even run 3/8 of a mile on his drop to $4,000 last couple of times. Just no semblance of his best game. This is not even his B game or his C game that he's been putting out there. Poker Partner, obviously damaged goods, but coming out of that 5/8 that saw him nail the break, he could nail the standing start here with a hard sentence. Good gate boy, Ricardo Barrios up and make life a little miserable for Bohemian Style down the backstretch with Bohemian Style's front-running tactics. Bohemian Style also stays left lead. It does not have a picturesque stride, so he's got issues of his own, Bohemian Style. And I respected this horse, his allowance aspirations and his tenacity by speed horse standards for a long time. And it cost me some bets because he kept flubbing the assignment. In fact, if you look back, you might wonder, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here for just a second. I've listed the plus points on Bohemian Style, which I think jump off the page as attributes here are really obvious. And I doubt if he even holds 6-5, which is what you're looking at right now. But if I want to look at the other side of this equation, check it out. The last 7 times this horse has been favored, he didn't win. So he has become a professional money burner. Now, he hasn't seen competition this low, but I would also add that I think there's some physical issues. Usually when a horse fails repeatedly to come through, when heavily bet as the favorite, there are physical issues at the root of it. And with Bohemian Style, I'm pretty sure that's the case because he stays left lead and he's got an ugly way of going once fatigue sets in, Bohemian Style. In case you would plan to bet the kids lunch money and every dime you have. Now, don't get me wrong. The form that Poker Partner has been in, the opposing speed here, with Crafty Conquest, another speed just far overmatched against Bohemian Style. He's by far the likeliest winner here. But if I could find a decent closer, I'd be tempted here. But there's no such creature in here. Who are you going to bet the rally? Ready for Action? I came up with some half-baked theory last time that Ready for Action was going to fire. And he's taking some support here at 8-1. I think he won an allowance race over the Mountain Man a couple of years back. Ready for Action. And maybe with a couple of races under his belt, he perks up a little bit here. And the cutback helps him. But boy, you're really scraping around to find somebody to close. If you're going to go to Ready for Action, Drew Power used to reside in the good Terry Crago barn, and John Brown can't hit the broadside of a barn with this horse. Crow's Nest has had a tightener now and has a come from behind style, but he lost 8 lengths from the first call to the finish at a race that was wired by Dunphy, who was walking in the late stages there. So it's tough to drum up much enthusiasm for anybody to rally here. It just is. If there were a likely candidate to stock or rally, the race flow could actually benefit them. And some of the questions about Bohemian Style could welcome it to play. If you want to go closer shopping on like the 1 or the 3, I get it. I understand it. But I would need a bigger price than you're looking at right now at 8-1 and 6-1 respectively on those 2 horses. So I could see something crazy happening here from off the pace. Even number 4, Abuelo Paps. He's only a 4-time winner, though. Out of 63 starts, he likes to run 2nd or 3rd. He has been freshened up. He's a new phase. But the last time he got freshened up, he ran backwards in both of his outings. He's 54-1 at Charlestown in this kind of a low-condition race. But he does have an off-the-pace history. And this race almost looks like a recipe for off-the-pace mayhem in deep stretch here. Although, and again, don't get me wrong. Given what I know about Bohemian Style and the fact that Poker Partner might try to compromise him for the first 100 yards here, I'm not too eager to take 3-5 on Bohemian Style. But if you see him as an anchor in the late double, he is by far the likeliest winner here for very obvious reasons. Bohemian Style, correct? For very obvious reasons. Let's check back over to the comment section and get with you guys. Some of you guys are really good handicappers. I know my man Bobby was a good handicapper and Kenny Neely for sure. Some of you guys are surprising me with your astute observations. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I'm going poker to show, says Steve. Yeah, I get it. I'm not sure to advise that though, because the prohibitive favorite has the same running style. And I can't get over a poker partner folding up after just one initial burst on his big drop down to soft condition $4,000 company last time. And Kenny says, I need to start a 440 a step better from the standing start. I don't think he's ever going to be quick away from the gate, Kenny. He lacks the requisite quickness to become a future legend at the 440. It's rare to come from behind the way he does, even as far behind as he was tonight and passed like 5 horses at the 440. I think the whole thing is how is he drawn in the gate, and is there anybody in his outside quick enough to cross over on him, which I think would expose him in a big hurry. But as long as he gets a clean lane to exhibit his superior top speed, then he's probably going to be cash customer 9 times out of 10 at the 440. It only becomes complicated when he's got horses on the outside of him that are quick enough to take his lane away, I would say. That's just my opinion. That stride, yeah, he does take a long stride, doesn't he? A long stride when he rolls up the top speed, doesn't he? And then good advice there from Steve, who says, point the red light on the bottom towards you, my friend. Makes sense. Makes sense. Kind of like an old joke, a politically incorrect joke about a particular ethnicity. When somebody's standing talking to a construction foreman, and the construction foreman keeps interrupting the conversation and yelling, green side up. Green side up, you idiots. And the guy he's talking to finally says, how come you keep looking at your workers and saying green side up? And he says, well, I have some guys over there laying sod. Well, I think that applies to me, green side up. Watch the red on the microphone, dummy, the green side up joke. I'm not going to say which ethnicity the joke involves, because I'm not going politically incorrect here. From the dungeon. That's not what it's about. And you know what? If I start giving my political leanings here, I'm going to lose support too, because not all of my viewers and ardent supporters share my political orientations. They don't, or they just don't. You guys can probably guess which way I roll with a lot of that stuff. But I've never been a guy to march in lockstep with either party or strictly do as they tell me to do in every single issue. If you're not an independent thinker, then I don't think you're a thinker at all. But I'm not going to get into the whole love or hate Trump thing here, because I don't want to lose viewers. I really don't. And politics is not what this is about. I do think Caitlin Clark gets the short end of the stick in the WNBA. And that's about as close to politics as I'll come here from the dungeon. And that's really sports related. If the Pirates maybe put up a run or two, do I even have a right to hope they can mount some kind of a rally after they give up 7? They gave up 7 earlier, didn't they? And I guess no comeback in the offing. I guess, huh? Steve finds me humorous. Hojin Lee says, looking forward to sharing information on Mahoning Valley. That track has been a mystery to me. You know what? A lot of guys find it perplexing. It's my favorite track to bet, though, because do I have time here to get into this, guys? I hope that I do. You know what? I'll wait until after this race. And Mr. Lee, we will talk some Mahoning Valley and some of my feelings about that track and why I love it so much. And maybe about my plans to continue, just keep rolling with Mahoning commentary, even when Mountaineer goes down. Man alive was 1-5 ridiculous on Bohemian Style, and I laid the case out at length. Stays left lead, ugly mover, very suspicious to have lost the last 7 times he was favored. The cherry on top of the sundae was he's got a front running style, and he's going to be compromised by the hard scent from Barrios and Quick Poker Partner. Poker Partner is not what he was. He's not even a contender there, but he is going to give Bohemian Style fits and put Bohemian Style on a chase. And Bohemian Style told you he's not what he's cracked up to be anyways. Believe me, despite the multi-level drop there. That race, and I think I said this verbatim beforehand, was a recipe for off-the-pace chaos. Otherwise, that exact is going to be more than $183 with a 1-5 shot off the ticket. I think somebody threw some off-the-pace possibilities into a pot and mixed them up there on some exacta tickets. Ready for action. Lousy form, but at least cut back in distance, change of hands. I even touched on Abuelo Paps in there. Yeah, lousy past performance, but he's a new face in the field and at least has a history of closing or trying to close a style if you're going to be flattered there. So not at all surprised that the 1-horse wins it or the 4-horse runs second there, because the pace brigade there was highly suspect. And in that case, you got to get creative, I guess, with some of the off-the-pace horses. I didn't bet the race, but it could have easily been figured to come out with something chaotic like that, with a couple of long shots coming from behind. Really. And I'm not redboarding there. It was all in my pre-race commentary. And I see where George says, as a matter of fact, Mark, when you want to get to the topic, and if you want to go there, I disagree with your political opinions, but I like your racing takes. George, I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable here at all. I respect your political opinions, sir. And we've been on this topic before. I much respect your opinions. And I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable by bringing politics into the dungeon. I'm just not going to do that. I'm just absolutely not going to do that. Don't ever worry about it because it's not going to happen. So we have 7 down. I want to go. My wife is on duty tonight at the nearby medical center. She's an RN, as you guys probably know. But she was kind enough, since she was off last night, got a good night's sleep, to get up and make Little Bear and me some pasta with meat sauce. And I can't wait to get upstairs and get at it. So I'm going to kind of give the last race kind of a quick run through, maybe, huh? If you guys don't care. The last race is numbers twice in 12 months. Generic stuff, cheap claimers to go a mile. I'm thinking the favorite might be Remerton. Remerton, the last time on dirt, was second. Way better competition at Thistledown. And when Juan Pablo takes him to Thistledown, he likes him. And the winner was another Juan Pablo horse, Sequil, who just won here by like 15 lengths and would come back to win again in the aftermath of that. Sequil's a good closer who fell out of there in front at Arabian pace. So Remerton wasn't just in very tough with a very solid stablemate, way better than these horses, but by being next to last at first call behind that Arabian tempo was against the race flow to boot. So now you tell me, riddle me this, Batman. Why did he tank on the turf next time at 5-2? Because he's a turf creature. He's been second 5 times on turf, 3 wins on synthetics, and he's 0 for 7 on dirt and at 5-2. How come he runs backwards in there? What was up with that with Remerton? But if he can look anything like that June 1st race, then this field can't contend with him. They can't get near Remerton. So you tell me, how problematic is the most recent race on Remerton? I could see a lively pace here. Number 6, Krug. Keep an eye peeled for him when he draws at his lone speed, because he can be reliable when he controls the tempo. He's only been out twice this year and showed some signs of coming around last start when dueling for about half the journey from a tough post, Krug. Keep an eye out for him, because there'll come a time when he looks like the speed, and he will win and pay a good price. Number 9, North Warden, though. A couple of scratches pull him in closer to the rail, and he's got early foot that should at least hurt Krug. Now, he progressed badly in his second start off the bench there. It didn't look like a bounce to me from North Warden. Loved him. I know he was a short price, used him big time in the daily double because he figured to have things completely his own way after the start before, being in a very solid non-6-month race against the likes of Captain Creed and the aging but still formidable high-rolling Dude. So in his next one is a lone leader on paper. how in the world is he supposed to lose that race by 12 lengths? I don't know. I really don't. Big regression from him last time. Mean tweets. What I don't get, and Randy Bailey, very sharp guy, friend of mine, good handicapper and a good horseman. I don't get that he keeps running this horse around the ground, because Mean Tweets, I thought, ran really big in his first 2 starts of the year, sprinting. In both those races, somebody strong went out and got a loose lead on speed favoring footing, face of Barrio, and Mean Tweets is flying at him late. And then Bledsoe, a very strong speed type. And once he's loose, 23 flat to the first call, you can't run him down. Mean Tweets tried manfully to get at both those lone F winners out through the home stretch there. I think he's better going short these days. Mean Tweets. Hank's last time at a route. Randy likes him at a route still, Mean Tweets. And this change of jockeys could be big. Arroyo's got skills and gets a lot of run from a horse, especially off the pace, and he's better than Pagan. And Mean Tweets figures to sit a good trip in behind the leaders and maybe get first run on the lates here, huh? Johnny Quest, I don't think is a factor, because he moves up from a lower condition, non-12 months, into a 2 and 12 months, and that is not according to Hoyle. It just isn't for a race like this. Cool Quartet I was really looking at, but he scratched. He's a defection here. And Classic King draws in from the outside. I know he's been closing, going short. That doesn't mean he wants to go long. At one time, he might have been a route horse, but I think he's a clunk-up sprinter now who is likely to hang at a full-blown distance of ground. Classic King. So it's kind of my once through, my quick once through on the nightcap. So anyway, so hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm gonna go upstairs and get some grub. Love doing this, love hanging with you guys, and I want an interactive show back and forth. Watch for my video to drop on the Equibase rating system. I'm gonna take a run at it, and it's not gonna be a favorable one. And I will be posting some comment that is not between race analysis and the breakdown of the Mountaineer races. Just to go a little bit off the grid. Check out the video I already have up called Vetsless Vexation, which draws from my considerable experience, 36 years as a racing official, most of it in charge of a racing office in dealing with state vets and their often confusing mandates and policies. I think you'll enjoy that. Check it out. Vetsless Vexation on my YouTube channel. And check out between now and Sunday when Mountaineer returns for some YouTube comment, a separate video about the Equibase rating system. I think you're going to find it illuminating and maybe even entertaining. And whatever the case, stay cool out there. I plan to golf tomorrow, and it's supposed to be 98. So if you find me face down in the fairway, then remember, I appreciated you guys showing up for this gig very, very much. Spread the word if you can. And I will catch you Sunday in about 15 minutes to post. And until then, many thanks again. Mark Patterson out.